This is a bit of an informal review on The One Thing by Gary Keller. I had heard really good things about this book, mostly from my local real estate connections, and so I chose it for specifically for a mastermind group of women running business. So this is both my personal opinions and professional as an executive coach, and the group's responses to the book. I did expect the book to have some sort of revolutionary concept or something that even knock your socks off based on just the way people said, oh, you got to read The One Thing, or they would reference it in certain conversations. And so, okay, it delivered. Good job, Gary. I did not expect it to be so practical, which it is. Especially in the beginning of the book, there are some priceless nuggets for a lot of people regarding multitasking, habits, willpower. Oh my goodness, if you have issues with these, you need to read this book. Gary did a masterful job presenting big concepts like the domino effect and then giving you very practical ways to apply them to your life. So in that case, how do you find your first domino? What's your first domino? So you can experience the domino effect. The book is generally based on the idea that to make things easier or even unnecessary, you have to identify the smaller specific actions that will get you those results. Okay, and it sounds a little cheesy, but truly, the diagrams are wonderful. If you're like me and you tend to listen to a lot of books, which I do. I like to listen to Audible while I'm running with the dog or driving around or whatever. I did end up getting the Kindle app version of this book as well because the diagrams were really valuable. Let's see, what's a good example for you? Oh yeah, as one of our group discussions really gravitated around the 7 areas of life. So there was a diagram that actually one of the members of our group has recreated on her whiteboard. So what's the one thing in these 7 areas of life? Get the book, check out the diagram, you'll see what I mean. Definitely applicable, relevant for everyone. And there are some very specific things. So going from big, life-altering, future, big thinking down to small, practical, specific, how to do it now. What do I need to do right now in order to make that happen? If this is appealing to you, get the book or join our mastermind. I think for most people, the hardest part about this book, or applying the concepts in this book, will be expending the mental energy to continuously attempt to hone down to that smaller specific action. And in some cases, people don't, okay, a lot probably, don't necessarily know how to identify the one thing in those 7 areas of life, or maybe even in a primary area of business, then how to hone it down. So let me share a little bit more about this. He gives you a specific tool that it's going to get the job done. It's the focusing question. So if you don't already know it, it is what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So by asking yourself this question over and over and over, you will be able to hone down into the one thing that's right in front of you right now that needs to be done. And doing that thing first, another core concept in this book. So here's my personal opinion. And based on watching the gals in the group and how they really are compelled to follow the guidelines given, the struggle is that the focusing question for most people is going to feel a little cumbersome until they get in the habit and stick with it long enough to really see the results. And by sticking with it, they will see the results. So again, the focusing question to ask again and again and again is, what's the one thing that I can do such by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? So you can see what I mean by cumbersome, but just keep going. In fact, he talks about continuously doing something for 66 days. So they have a 66-day habit tracker that you can download, and I did, and I'm actually using it. It's a good idea. 66 days. He explains it in the book. One of the concepts I personally enjoyed the most was think big, go small. So you probably kind of figured that out already, but by shifting your mindset beyond the comfort zone and well into the future about bigger goals, bigger impact, beyond what you think is necessarily practical, of course. And then honing down and honing down and honing down into those small, specific actions that are going to take you there. So it's basically using project management techniques to run the areas of your life, working it back for leveraged impact. It's not just following the plan, it's thinking bigger, making the plan, and following it. This book is one that lingers with you a while afterward. You find yourself really wanting to benefit from these bigger concepts and the specific how-tos because it is so well put together, and it's really pretty easy to follow. Should you decide you want to do it, be willing to spend the mental energy. It's worth it. And using the question, now some of the members of the group in our discussions talked about how they were going to apply the question a little bit differently than how Gary laid it out, which I think there's a lot of value in that. If it's really difficult for you to figure out what the one thing is, maybe there's a couple areas that you can toggle back and forth in the week, and that's what some of our group members are doing. So possibly even day by day, or for the week, what's the one thing for the week? Or hour by hour, and there's still value in applying it in that way, for sure. For most of us, this is one of those that will go in the read it again pile, and I will choose it again for my future MasterMind book list. Well done, Gary. And thank you to all of those who recommended this book.